It was every single day in school. If we went to each other's house, we would play, even if it was at an apartment. I always loved it. I always thought it was so fun. It's like a religion. And then I always kind of had this goal of playing in college, and I always envisioned myself either playing soccer or basketball. My high school just wanted you to perform, basically be like a machine. No one there was gonna pat you in the head, extend their hand, or say you're special. It was kind of tough. It was actually really tough. I took a philosophy class for FYS with Dr. Minister. I just fell in love with it. It was the only classes that I would go in and leave the class a better person. Every single class, it would open my mind more and more and more. It was the most difficult sport I have ever done. I started doing it because I thought it was going to be easy, but that's because I didn't play in games. But then once I was a starter, the team really counted, depended on me. You just have one chance. There's wind, there's snow, there's rain. There's a snap and a hold that sometimes the snap is not good and the hold's not good. That's when it's really, really hard.
Welcome back to college. I'm your host, Zach Stevenson, and today in the classroom we're joined by someone who always had the dream of playing college sport in America. Growing up in the fourth largest city in the world, this person came to the US with his family when he was 13. After battling an ACL tear when he was young, this person decided to step away from basketball and try a new sport. Little did he know that this would later grant him a scholarship to Augustana, where he became an integral part of the football team as a kicker. With all the focus on football, this person came into college undecided what they would study. A few great professors and a couple of fascinating classes later, this person was inspired to pursue a philosophy major and minor in business and entrepreneurship. Calling from Sao Paulo, Brazil, please enjoy the conversation with Luis. Luis Guarita, welcome back to college.
Thank you for having me. Excited, happy to see you after a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm looking forward to diving back into a little bit of your time leading up to Augustana, because I'm not really too sure of your journey as to how you got there. But you were a kicker on the football team while we were there, which I think is pretty awesome. So I'm keen to unpack it all. So my first question for you. First, also, I should mention first, we've had plenty of South Americans on the show so far, but you're the first from Brazil. How does that feel?
Nice. I'm excited. Feel honored.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you grew up in Brazil, in what town?
I was born in Sao Paulo, so it's the largest city in Brazil. It's like the fourth largest city in the world. So it's a very, very big city. But I guess I had a different...
Fourth biggest in the world. That's huge. I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, it's big. It's big. But my path was maybe a little bit different than most international students, because I went to Florida, to Miami when I was 12 to 13. And then I stayed there up until high school, and became a kicker in high school. And I used to play basketball, like you, and football, soccer, football, however you want to say it. But then I tore my ACL playing basketball, and then I became a kicker, and that's how I ended up at Augie. But it was I guess a little bit different path than most people, because I was in the US before.
Yeah, okay.
But now
So
I'm in Brazil now. I'm in Sao Paulo. I'm back in Sao Paulo now.
Back home. Amazing.
Yeah.
How come you went to Florida when you were 13? How did that happen?
So we used to go to me and my sister used to go to an international school here in Sao Paulo. So it was all like in English, and we had students from all over the world. So it's like most people who go to school there, they usually go to school. Not everyone, but some people stay in Brazil, but a lot of people, since they get like international education, they go to either the US or Europe or other countries. And my sister, she's 7 years older than me, So she went to college in Davidson College. So you probably heard it's where Steph Curry played.
Yeah,
So she went
absolutely. Yeah.
to in North Carolina. So she went to college there, and my dad at the time, he was already retired. So decided to see what was like to live in the U.S. and also be closer to my sister. They just kind of wanted to get that feel of what was like, and then we ended up going to Miami, and then I became an athlete there. So I guess because of that, we ended up staying longer. At first, it was just to be short, maybe a year or two, just to see how it was gonna be. But then because I got really into sports there, it was better for me to be a student athlete in the US than here, because here, I guess, I don't know how it is in Australia, but in Europe is similar to here, where you can't really, it's really pretty hard to do both, and in America they obviously have scholarships and stuff for university. So I ended up staying there, but then I came back now after graduating, and my parents have been back since I went to college. After I went to college, they came back to Brazil. So
Yeah.
yeah, that
Okay.
was I guess, yeah, a little
Terrific.
bit.
That's interesting to hear that your sister went to Davidson College, because I saw through your Facebook, you had tons of Steph Curry stuff. So I guess that's why you had a bit of a connection to him and a bit of a draw to him.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know what I have of Steph Curry on my Facebook, but yeah, I always liked him. And when she went, it was 2010, so it was a year after he got drafted. And I
Oh, right.
remember,
Okay.
yeah, and I remember visiting there and everyone talking about him, and that's how I first heard of him. And at the time, I still lived here in Brazil. I remember I was telling my friends, like, this guy is the next big thing. And I was just saying this, I didn't really know much, but I was just saying this guy, that he's the next. And now some of my friends, they talk to me. Like, I remember when you were telling me about Steph Curry and before we even know who he was.
Yeah,
So it's
I
funny.
watched his documentary recently, actually, that came out on Apple TV. And I had no
Oh,
idea
okay.
of sort of the story that he had, where, because Davidson College is very small, and
Yeah,
he, yeah, just somehow made a name for himself because he was just that good. So he has a
exactly.
pretty cool
And no
story.
one wanted him too. No one,
Yeah,
like the big schools, they didn't really, they overlooked him. So
and now
it's
he's
cool, really
one
cool
of the best
story
players in the NBA, which is crazy,
in
and one of the
history.
best 3-point shooters of all time.
Yeah, probably the best, I would say. I don't
So
think anyone has ever done what he does.
no, he's a
Yeah, yeah.
freak. I'm curious, Luis, about what your transition was like from Brazil to starting school in the US in Miami.
Sure, yeah. It was in terms of like the school, it was fine because I already spoke English, because like I said, I went to international school here. So the language was fine. Um but obviously it's a bit challenging when you leave your home, and you've been through that, so you know what it's like, and you're not in your culture. So that was the more difficult part. In terms of the school, it was easy, but just the outside of school aspects, or just like there's just so many rules. Like, for example, you couldn't play like sports in my school because of like liability and stuff.
Oh,
So
really? That's so
yeah,
bizarre.
yeah, and that's how it is. At least in the schools I went to, that's how it was. Maybe other American people can, maybe it was different for them, but for me it was like that. So it didn't have much freedom, which kind of sucked. Here in Brazil, there's always a lot more freedom, and you could just have fun with your friends. Whereas it was just a lot of rules, what you could do, what you couldn't do. It was kind of structured. It was kind of weird. I mean, for me. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. I made good friends, and I was able to get out of my comfort zone, which was good. But it wasn't as fun as in Brazil, that's for sure.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting that you couldn't even play sport. So how did you actually get into sport then?
Yeah, you could, but it's like only in specific areas, and there had to be like a teacher watching. But you couldn't, like, there was like a basketball court that we could only go maybe once a week or something. You could just play in this one determined area. But in sports, I got into it. I got into it just my whole life playing. It was just, and then it was just kind of like a natural thing. Just always enjoyed basketball, tennis,
Well, I'm
football,
sure
like the
there's.
soccer,
I'm sure in
and yeah,
Brazil there's a huge soccer culture.
yeah. I grew up. That's like it's like a religion here. So you literally here growing up. I mean, at least my experience. Some people don't like playing, but my experience with my friends, it was every single day in school. If we went to each other's house, we would play. Even if it was at an apartment, we would find a way to play. So it's just you're playing every single time. And I always loved it. I always thought it was so fun. But yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So then transitioning into high school, what sort of sports were you focusing on then? You said that you were into basketball, football. Was there anything else?
Yeah, it was more soccer and basketball. And then I always kind of had this like goal of playing in college. I always wanted to have that experience. And I always envisioned myself either playing soccer or basketball. But then, like I said, I tore my ACL and playing basketball, and I saw kicking as like a new sport that I wanted to try out, and I was able to pick it up quite easily, even though it's tough. But I was able to pick it up, and then things ended up working out.
So how?
For you, how was it? I don't know if I should ask you questions, but I
No,
was curious to know
yeah,
this for
we can
you.
come back to that in a sec. I'm just gonna
Oh yeah,
ask
yeah, yeah.
you, how did you like this? How did you find kicking as like, I don't know, as like, how did you discover it? Essentially, is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah. Um, I so growing up here, you probably had it too, the PSP, the
Yeah,
PlayStation, the PSP.
of
Yeah. So I
course.
used to have a PSP, and I had like Madden on PSP. So I used to play it. And then when I went on vacation one time to the US, I bought like a NCAA football game. They don't make them anymore, but they were pretty fun. And then I just when I was playing it, I was like, okay, there's a guy that kicks. So that was like the first time. And then in Miami, it was actually the first time I kicked a football when I was with some of my friends there, and recess. And I kicked the ball, and these guys were like, "Oh my God, you're amazing!" Like everyone was like going crazy, and I didn't even think I was that good. But I guess since US doesn't have like a culture of using their feet, I was pretty good for them. But I never played there. Like they were like, "Oh, you should play here," but I never played in that school. They were, I just like, no, I don't like it. I like basketball. I like soccer. Um,
So was that
but
still in
then
middle school or was that in high school?
Yeah, that was in middle school. That was in middle school when I first kicked, and they were like, "Oh, dude, you're crazy. You're so good. Like you're amazing. We want you to be the kicker." And I was like, "No, I don't want it. I want to play basketball, soccer." Um, and then I ended up choosing basketball because they were on the same season, soccer and basketball. I ended up and soccer. I used to always get injured when I played soccer. So then I focused on basketball, and things were going pretty well. I don't know if I would have made to. I think I probably would have made to the college level if I really worked. I really needed to work really hard on my handles and stuff and defense, but I was a good shooter. Um, and then I tore my ACL. And since I knew like my friends before, like, oh, you're so good at kicking, and I was watching it on TV. It seemed kind of cool, like the big stadium and stuff. And then I just was like, let me try this out. And then I ended up transferring to I actually transferred to a school because of football, to like a really good school. Like at one point they were top 5 in the United States at football. So I ended
Right.
up transferring there to play, which was crazy experience, really crazy.
So how did you get noticed as a kicker, especially if you've never really done it before? Getting recruited
So
as a kicker for not having a background in it.
yeah, and in that school I didn't. I wasn't recruited. I knew they had a good team, and I just went there, and they actually didn't have tryouts, so anyone could join. I mean, there was like a travel roster where only a few people would travel, but if you wanted to join, you could. So was like eventually just went crazy. Like, okay, I'm gonna go there, and I actually wasn't a starter there my first year, and then I became a starter. But then I ended up not being the starter again at my last season. But even like that, I was still able to get recruited just because the school is so good. Like there's like maybe 8 or 9 guys, or I don't know the exact number, but who played with me in high school or in the NFL right now. Like one of them is Nick Bosa. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but this guy, yeah, he's, if you ask anyone, I mean, this guy, he was number 3 pick in the draft, and there's a lot of guys that I played with. And one of the kickers that was a year older than me when I first got there, he also went to the NFL. I don't know if he's still on a team, but he got signed.
That's
So it
really
was
awesome. Yeah, and to hear that you
yeah,
were just in that environment with like such high caliber players as well. I mean, I'm sure that would have had a huge impact on you in becoming a great kicker as well.
yeah, no, definitely. It was definitely a place. It was like it was definitely a place that humbled me, because I was always everywhere the best, or one of the top guys growing up everywhere I was, but I was never at like serious places. I was just at like school or like anywhere with my friends. I wasn't like actually with the top guys, and that was actually a humbling place because I was around the top of the top, and I saw that like if I wanted to be good, I really needed to work hard, and that there wasn't like a joke.
That's
And it definitely
amazing. They
helped
just
me.
have
It
this
definitely
like
helped me.
bar of excellence that you just sort of
Exactly.
take, well, yeah, I mean, that's what everyone else is doing, so I guess I need to follow suit if I want to be any good.
Exactly. And there it was like the first time in my life where I wasn't the special one, and like there the coaches, like no one there was gonna get like pat you in the head. I don't know if that's the right saying, but no one was gonna, you know, extend their hand, or say you're special,
Yeah.
So it was kind of tough. It was actually really tough for me, but it made me stronger, that's for sure. But it was actually really hard because uh, it's just different from everything I was ever a part of. But then going back, like you said, since it was such a good school, so many colleges were always there, and I had like a pretty good highlight tape from practice, and I played a few games, but more from practice. And then Augustana, they visited there. I remember I speaking with a coach from there. He went to my high school, gave his cards, and
Oh, so as one of the coaches, or yeah, someone from the coaching staff from Augustana came to visit your
yeah.
high school because he had been there himself. He used to go there
No, he didn't go there, but I think they were just
on a
recruiting in
recruiting
Florida.
trip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
okay.
recruiting trip. Yeah, yeah. And then
Fascinating.
I think so in football there's in high school there's a thing called spring practice, which is before the season, and then there's a spring game, and then you always do your highlights for spring. end the season. So then I had my spring highlights, so my practice, and then my spring game highlights. And I played pretty well in my spring game. And then I was sending that to a lot of colleges, and especially the colleges that met me, and they would give their card. And I think that's what happened. I sent my spring tape to Augie and to other schools, and then Augie they got back to me, and then they ended up they were recruiting another guy, I remember, but I think that other guy didn't go, and then they ended up calling me, and then I actually did a tryout at Augie. I had to do a tryout since I didn't play. I wasn't a starter in high school. I actually went to Augie. They flew me out, and I kicked for them and stuff, and then I was offered the offer, the scholarship. So it was It's pretty cool experience.
That is a crazy experience. So what was it like when they flew you out and you had to prove yourself that you were good enough to play at the college level?
I mean, I didn't have that much pressure because I kind of like, it was kind of like an official visit. Like I was staying with a player from Augie, and they were showing me around Augie. So it wasn't like they just flew me there to kick. Like I did like a whole tour with like the IPO. Like it was kind of like a full visit, so I knew they were already interested. But obviously I had to perform well. So it was actually easy to kick because it was like 4 coaches. It was like the head coach, Coach Oje, and then I think 3 other coaches. I think they all left. The 3 assistants, and like 1 was 4, and then 1 was recording, and then the other one was like snapping, and the other one was holding. But it was easy because we were indoors. You probably went there to that place, the Sanford place, the cool
amazing
field,
facility out there. Yeah, the field house. So
the field
cool.
house, yeah. So I did it there, so there was no wind, so that was good. And the snaps and holds were all really good from the coaches. So it was good. I had like all the right conditions to do well, so I wasn't very nervous, And my parents also they were also there watching, and they also were at the visit, which was cool too. They were able to be a part of all that, which was fun.
I think that speaks to your character, because for me, what you just described sounds like a very nerve-wracking situation where you've got 4 coaches by yourself. You've got your parents watching as well. You've flown, halfway across the country just to, I don't know, prove yourself and kick. But you seemed pretty chilled out about it, which is, quite amazing.
Yeah. I think my St. Thomas, the high school I went to, helped a lot because there it was tough. I mean, there it was really, really tough. Like, I guess that helped me become, I guess, more chill, I would say, or more emotionally intelligent, maybe.
Right. So then, and what was that factor that maybe made you decide that Augie was the place to go to?
Yeah, good question. I like the facilities. It was like nicer than a lot of D1 schools, like the football stadium and stuff. And I mainly had D1 walk-on interest, but nothing really went through. And I had a lot of D3 offers. And Augie was the only D2 offer I had. And at the time I wanted to be a pro. I had this dream. And I know CJ Ham went from Augie to the NFL. And I know if I was good enough, I could go. So that also was a thing. And it was also good school academically. And I had a better offer. It was my best offer that I had also, because most other schools I had were D3, and D3 they don't give as much scholarship. They give more. They give academic, and then D1 I could have gone if I wanted, but I'll probably have to be a walk-on, because kickers usually are walk-ons unless you're like the best guy in the nation. You're usually a walk-on for your first few years, and then you have to earn a scholarship. There's a lot of guys who are in the NFL who are walk-ons at the at the D1 level the first few years, so the scholarship was also a factor.
Yeah,
So yeah, those are
fantastic.
a few things. Yeah, I
Well,
know.
kind of, it does seem to sort of tick all those boxes for you, and it probably would have been a
Yeah,
bit of a gamble being a walk on for a Div 1 school. So I think the fact that Augie kind of ticked all the rest of the boxes, it seemed that you made the right decision to go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so too. It was good at
So,
that time. It was the right decision for sure.
so what was it like for you arriving at Augie? Because I know that the football team, they arrive a month or so early before all the other students because their season starts
Yeah,
right
yeah.
as the school year begins. So I guess you would have been there
True, true.
nice and early training with them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I did arrive before for the fall camp. I think basketball arrives also, no?
I believe so. But at that point, for my freshman year at least, I wasn't actually part of the varsity team, so I
Really?
didn't arrive early. I just arrived with the international students.
But you were recruited for basketball, right?
So I was well. I mean, I was recruited into the junior varsity team essentially, with that pathway option to join the varsity. And as soon as I saw it, kind of similar to you, it was like really good school. They've got a great facilities from what I can see, and a really good basketball program. So that's what I want to do. And there's a clear pathway to bridge that gap between, because I was getting a lot of offers from Division 3 schools. But then, since
So great.
Augie was Division 2, really good program, had just won the national championship. It's like,
Oh,
well,
that's
that's the
right.
school I
That's
want to
right.
go to. And if
That's
they're
right.
offering me a spot in the junior varsity team, well, I just going to work my butt off and join the varsity guys, which is what ended
Uh,
up happening.
So I didn't know they have two teams at Augie.
Yeah, it
They
was
still
sort
have
of
that?
the junior varsity was a bit unofficial. I don't know if it's still going.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a whole separate thing, really. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, it
Okay.
worked out for me, so I'm happy.
Awesome. Awesome.
And
So wait, you said, oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
you came. Was it in 2017? You started college,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so
2017.
you did the international orientation and everything.
I actually didn't go to the Black Hills. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, it would have been because you were busy with football.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go. Maybe I just never asked the coaches. Maybe if I had asked them, I probably would have. I just never really planned for things at that time. Now I plan things better now. I think maybe if I had planned, I probably would have joined. I could have probably gone if I had talked to but I just at the time I guess I was focused on playing and stuff. And yeah, but I did like the freshman stuff, the freshman, some of it, not all of it. And it was fun. I mean, it was cool. First time, you're away from home, like all on your own. So it was kind of fun to just to have that freedom, I guess, or that independence. And I was excited because I was at my high school. I wasn't recruited, and I was like a backup kicker. So like no one really knew who I was or anything. And even the starting kicker, like the star, like in my high school, like the star quarterback had like 20 offers, and you're just a kicker. But at Augie, I was actually being recruited and stuff, so people knew who I was. So I was excited about that, like being young. I thought that was kind of cool. Like, oh, okay, like I got recruited. These guys believe in me. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah. So what was that
But
jump
it was
like?
tough. It was a lot of practice, a lot of
What was
hours. But it
the
was
jump like from playing high school football to college football?
it was easier for me. College was easier for me.
Really?
Yeah,
In what
yeah,
ways?
yeah. Just because the standard was higher in my high school, and the coaches weren't as like nice. I would say nice. Not that football coaches are super nice, but just my high school was like just very tough, and Like they just didn't care at all about your feelings or how you were doing. They just wanted you to perform, basically be like a machine. Um, and in Augie, it was you still are a machine and you have to perform, but it was just a little bit less intense than it was in high school, and I had more free time. It was easier to go from one place to another, also because I was all in the same campus. So it was easier because of that. I mean,
Right.
I guess the best way to describe my high school was just very like cutthroat. You know, either you get the job done or you don't. And I guess that helped me become a better player. At the time it was tough, but then when I went to college, it made me realize, like, in sports, that was actually one of the reasons why I decided that I didn't want to pursue sports. That because of that, because at the end of the day, all that matters is your performance. It doesn't really matter how good you are as a person or how you treat people. At least my experiences, like for example, in my high school, the star players, like if they skipped class, if they weren't nice to people, it didn't matter because they're getting the job done on the field. And in Augie, at the end of the day, it's still the same. I mean, in sports, I mean, obviously you can't be a terrible person, and but in sports, as long as you get the job done on the field, it doesn't really matter how the person you are. And that's something I learned in high school that helped me. Like, okay, it doesn't really matter, like, if I'm being nice to people. What matters is if I play well. But that was also one of the reasons why I was like, you know what, I don't really want to be part of this world anymore, you know.
Right.
But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And we will talk about some other aspects of college soon, but I mean, I'm really enjoying this football journey that you've taken me on so far. So I just wanted to ask, what does it actually look like for a kicker in particular? What does the training look like throughout the season?
Yeah,
Because I
it's
remember
funny kicking.
there's a few times where we'd be um, just at Augie, we'd sort of pass each other, and the rest of the football team would be training, and you're just like, oh, like I kicked a few balls earlier, like I'm all good. So it almost seems like it's a bit of a quite separate from the whole team training.
It is. It is. It is. It's like you. It's a different sport. You know. What you do is completely different than what the other guys do. So it's definitely a bit like lonely. It's like a lonely job. But I would say the training, it's easier. Kicking is easy. Training is easy for kicking, but what's tough is the games. You know, the training itself is easy because you don't kick too many balls because you don't want to get hurt. You don't lift, like, I'd never lifted too heavy. You know, you don't want to do anything that's gonna make you get tired or anything like that. You just want to be fresh all the time. But the easy, all the easy stuff you go through during training, when it comes to the game, I mean, that's when it's really, really hard.
Well, the
And it
pressure's
was
on
actually
in
the
the game.
toughest. Yeah, it was
The
actually.
kicker has the biggest role to often come through. Maybe the game's tied. They've got to kick, 40-yard field goal to potentially
Yeah,
seal the deal.
exactly. It was the most difficult sport I have ever done. I started doing it because I thought it was gonna be easy, but that's because I didn't play in games. But then once I was a starter and the team really counted, depended on me and stuff, it's really, 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 really hard. It's a really, really hard position and sports because you just have one chance. There's wind, there's snow, there's rain. There's a snap and a hold that sometimes the snap is not good and the hold's not good. I was really lucky that the season I played really well. I had an amazing snapper and holder that I really trusted, so that was really helpful. But sometimes you don't, and that sucks because you don't kick well. So it's really hard,
It's
really hard.
such
But the
a high
training
pressure
is not that tough.
situation.
It is. It's very hard. Yeah, very high pressure. I guess you just have to keep reminding yourself that, it's not the end of the world if you miss.
But at the same time, like, the whole team's been working really hard for the last, 3
Yeah,
quarters. You just got to kick it home, mate. Just do the job, seal the deal.
exactly. And you just have to, the kicking net really helps. Like the more like during the games, there's a kicking net that we have so that we can just, you don't see the ball going in, but you can kind of feel how you're hitting it. So that helps a lot right before you go in. And then before the game, during practice, we always would do like practice with the holder and stuff and the snapper to get a feel. But it's really hard, really really tough. Yeah, it's
So,
not for anyone. You gotta
not at
be
all.
a
It
different type
sounds
of person,
super
or
stressful
train
to
your
me.
mind. You gotta train. Yeah, it is very stressful. It is.
Yeah.
It is very stressful.
Luckily for the most part, you're a pretty chill dude, so I think that's probably why you handle it so well. I want to ask,
Yeah,
what
but it's tough. Yeah.
was your college football experience everything that you could have hoped it to be?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think all my dreams kind of came true. With it, like I always wanted to have like the gear, and I was able to get some cool gear. Obviously, not like the one, but I was able to get some cool gear. And also we were able to make the playoffs, so we traveled on our own plane to like Colorado to play. Stayed in a nice hotel. That was cool. And I went as a starter. In high school, we went to Vegas and we played in a game that was on ESPN, but I didn't play, but I was there. But at Augie, I was able to play, at a big game, at a lot of big games, and hit a game winner, which was a big dream. And it was cool that we had like a lot of times we had NFL coaches watching. So it was cool that I was able to be a part of all that, and meet CJ Ham and stuff. So a lot of my dreams did come true, which was cool.
I do have a clip of you. I was wondering if you want to describe it to me, because I'm not too sure what this is, but you featured on Midcoast Sports, which was the local television.
Oh, really? Oh, I think I posted that on Instagram, though.
Yeah. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that game at all? Was that some? I don't know. I guess it was maybe just showing highlights of Augie football. But
Yeah,
I mean, you're
yeah.
featured
I
in
just
it.
thought
That's
that
pretty
was a cool
crazy.
video. I just
Yeah.
thought that was a cool video, and I posted.
And you just kicking it straight through the middle.
Yeah, sometimes it barely went through, but sometimes you get lucky. But yeah, I particularly don't remember that like kick. I know it went in. I think it was against Mankato, maybe. I'd have to see it again, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just
No,
thought
it's
that was
okay. I
a
just
cool
thought-
video,
Yeah, I thought it'd just be
and it was
cool
me
to show and
celebrating. I think.
give people a bit of a understanding of what that atmosphere was like at the college games.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've talked a lot about football, but I think it'd be good to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about some other aspects of college.
Of course.
What did you decide to study when you came to Augustana?
Good question. I wasn't sure actually what I was gonna do. So I kind of went undecided, and I was thinking maybe sports management at one point, and business, finance. And then what I ended up pursuing was actually my major was actually philosophy, and then I got 2 minors in business and entrepreneurship, which I loved. The especially philosophy was incredible. I actually had a class with Max. We used to sit next to each other, so he definitely made my experience in that class more fun for sure.
Yeah, what did you guys do in that class together?
I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure if it was global poverty or if it was ethical perspectives or something. I really don't remember. But I do remember that we were always like together sitting, or even if we weren't sitting together, we we would sometimes like some funny things would happen in the class discussions, and we would like look at each other and kind of laugh and stuff. And I feel like some of the people there kind of wouldn't pick it up, but for some reason, me and him, we would pick up on these funny things. Maybe because we weren't from the U.S. and we would just kind of joke and laugh at things.
Yeah, that's funny. I think there is a lot of different perspectives when you come from a different country outside the US, which is especially those philosophy classes. I think that could really share as a unique viewpoint. What was it that drew you into philosophy?
Yeah, you probably did FYS, right?
Yeah.
So I took a philosophy class for FYS with Dr. Minister, and I just fell in love with it. I really enjoyed. It was just it was actually it was the only classes that I would go and go in and leave the class a better person, or at least with new perspectives, like you said, and thinking of things that I didn't think about before. So it just, every single class, it would open my mind more and more and more. And I had a really great relationship with Dr. Minister, and also then with Dr. O'Hara, was the head of the philosophy department. And they were very, they're always there for me, always very helpful. During the pandemic, they really made sure I was going to graduate on time and everything. And yeah, it was a combination of the material and me becoming a better person, but also the two professors I had, the Minister and O'Hara, and they know this, I've told them, but yeah, they were a very big inspiration for me, just as a human being and stuff. So that was a reason. And then the business side, I also enjoy business, and I started the investment group at Augie too.
Oh, you started that, did you?
Yeah. Me and Denzel, we started. So I guess the business was, I wanted to be involved with business and money in some way, because I know that was the world. So it was also,
yeah, I think we all do to some degree. But you
yeah,
obviously found a bit of a passion for it, which is great. And starting the Investor Club too shows great initiative.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, no, thank you.
Did you make plenty of other friends that were outside of football? Because I mean, that was where you got exposed to a lot of people very early on. And I remember, particularly freshman year, you spent a lot of time in the commons hanging out with like the football guys when it was time to eat and things like that. But how did you manage to make some international friends and some other friends as well?
Yeah, I mean, you were also an athlete. You know how hard it was to have a social life or balance work and everything. Not work, but sports, school, and
study done,
and study and meeting people outside. So it was always a bit difficult, but I always made an effort to try to be with the internationals, especially because, like you said, we have a different perspective and we kind of understand each other differently than the people who are from the U.S. And I did make great friends in the football team. Not too many, but I made a few really good friends. And I became really good friends with Luis, the other Luis. He actually arrived during fall camp, so that's how we met.
And there was big like no one there, little foe, the dynamic duo.
Yeah. And that's how we met. And we lived on the same floor in the freshman year, so we immediately got along and became friends. And it was just natural comments sometimes sitting with international people and going out and stuff. And the people from the IPO were pretty nice too. Like the Aaron and Ellen and stuff, they're pretty nice. But yeah, I just always tried to make an effort to be with people, the international people, because that was also one of the things I really liked from Augie was to be able to open my mind even more and meeting people from countries that I never thought I would meet someone from. So I think that made me a better person for sure. I'm sure you probably went through the same experience.
100%, yeah. And I mean, well, I've got a podcast now about it, talking to all the fantastic people from all over the world that we met at college.
Yeah, exactly.
Phenomenal.
Exactly. That's cool, yeah. It's
So,
awesome.
Luis, if you could give your experience at Augie a letter grade, what would you give it?
Uh, maybe like B because of the weather. I think if the
You
weather
didn't
was
like the
good,
weather?
yeah, no, I think if the weather was good and the food was also pretty bad. I mean, coming from Brazil, like the weather is always nice and the food's amazing. That kind of made it pretty bad at times. But I mean, everything else was nice. I can't complain. So just because of the weather and the food, I give it a B. But or a B plus because it made me a better person for sure of the experiences. So I'd say a B plus.
Terrific, yeah.
What about you? What
mean,
about you?
I'm not going to disclose that just yet. But yeah, I mean, I love my time at Augustana. I think the weather, though, is just such a... I mean, it does just kind of drain the whole experience quite a bit, especially those long winter months where it just seems to drag on for month after month and it's just freezing cold. You're just kind of stuck inside all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I was definitely not ready for that. Oh, I don't think I ever will be.
You
Who
mentioned
knows?
you mentioned at the start that you're from one of the biggest cities in the world. So what was it like living in Sioux Falls?
I mean, yeah, that's also something. It was the pros and cons. I think pro was that I was able to be somewhere where it's not always traffic and you gotta be in a hurry. So it was good. It made me see that perspective of of not stressing over like traffic and taking more of my time to do things. But at the same time, when you're in a big city, you're around people who are more open-minded. Uh, and Sao Paulo is a melting pot of the whole world, and Brazil is a whole melting pot. So that from that perspective, you miss being around people who are more open-minded. But at the same time, I was also able to see what was life like in a place that's not as hustle and bustle, which I thought was valuable for me as a person. I don't know about you, how it is for you.
Yeah, it was a bit of a
I don't know
shock.
if
I
I
mean,
should ask you questions.
no, that's okay. But yeah, Sioux Falls is pretty small. But I think I
Yeah,
did quite enjoy it because it did mean that we would really rely on each other to fill our spare time together, and we really
exactly.
had some special moments together because it was often just hanging out because there was nothing better to do.
There's nothing else to do. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is something I learned also. Yeah, it's like in the big city, it's like you don't see people as often, and people always have things going on. And like you said, you don't enjoy the simple things as much because there's just so much to do. It's like you have to go to the best place, the best. But when you like you said, when you're in a place there isn't anything to do,
Yeah, I think
we're
the
just
first
we're just having
week you
fun with
kind
each
of see
other. Yeah.
everything, and then
Hmm?
after that, it's like the first week you kind of see everything, and then it's like, oh well, guess we'll just hang out, do not too much then, because it's freezing cold outside. The snow is just dumping down. We're just gonna chill in the dorm rooms and hang out.
Exactly. That's something that's really nice. Yeah, of a small place. I have to agree with you. Yeah.
So you graduated in 2021, is that correct?
Yeah.
And
Well,
then what did you do after graduation?
so I graduated remote from Brazil during the pandemic. Uh, and I actually wasn't sure if I was gonna keep playing or not. I didn't really want to play because after I came back to Brazil during the pandemic, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go back to the US. But obviously I was playing football, so I had more years of eligibility, and I didn't kind of want to let that go. So I actually went back to Augie for the MBA, but I was only there for a semester, and then I came back to Brazil. Um,
So did you get the
and
MBA?
no, I just went there to see it, to play, and I was like, you know what, I'm not enjoying this, and I don't really want to be here. I want to be back in Brazil, and I already graduated. I already have my degree, so then I came back, but I actually did an internship in the U.S. In Sioux Falls in First National Bank, wealth management, which was great. I really loved the experience. And then after that, I came back to Brazil after the summer, and then I got a job. I worked for a company from London, but I work like from home remotely, and things are going pretty well. And now, yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. And since I'm remote, I try to travel around Brazil and sometimes to other countries too.
Right, okay. And you mentioned that it's a tech company that you're working for?
Yeah, it's a software company for in the financial sector. We work for companies that are in the stock market, and it's a platform for people who work with investor relations.
Right.
But
And
yeah,
what's
it's
your
fun.
role that you do?
Yeah, my role, it's mainly, I do a lot of things, but I would say the main role would be relationship with clients, making sure they're happy with the product, make sure that they renew the product. I would say that's my main, and make sure that the product is also following what clients want. So make sure that things are developing. So work closely with the programmers, and we also do a lot of research for the company. So I also work with the research team. So yeah, it's kind of, you make sure that the clients are happy, but also work with the other departments of the company.
Yeah, keeping everyone happy. Right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
fantastic. Good on you.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
there any other memories from Augustana that kind of stick out to you that you wanted to share?
Uh, I think the game winner, I'd say, was the best moment for Augie. That was the best moment.
Pinnacle of football career and your college experience too.
Yeah, that's the highest you can go as a kicker. So it was fun.
Terrific. And then,
Yeah.
Luis, is there any advice that you'd give to an international student who's thinking about pursuing sports at college in the US?
Yeah. I guess my advice wouldn't be applicable to most people because I was already in high school there, so I'm not really sure that the journey maybe you'd be better to give that advice for someone who is going directly from high school in their home country to the US. But I guess the advice I can give to anyone that wants to enable, there's like a mixed form. The
Yeah, it's
advice I can give,
buckling down.
yeah. The advice that I can give to anyone to pursue sports is honestly to believe in themselves, work really hard, and just be a good person. Even though that doesn't really matter that much in sports, but it's very important to be a good person. Work really hard, believe in yourself, and be sure that you know what your goal is and what your dream is, and go after that regardless of what sport or what you're gonna do. I think it sounds simple, but I think That at the end of the day, that's what matters.
That's great advice. Thank you, Luis, for coming back to college with me.
Thank you very much for having me. You ask great questions, and hopefully I'll go to Australia. So I always watch surf. So I'm always watching. I mean, the Brazilian guys have been winning more, but
Yeah,
I'm always
damn you
watching.
guys.
I'm always watching the championships and stuff, and I always see Australia there, and I'm always like, okay, this place seems pretty cool. So I think and it seems pretty cool vibes too. All the
Well,
like the
hopefully
surfers.
we meet
they're
up
all
either
also
here
cool.
or I come to Brazil and meet up with you sometime soon. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool. I'll have to look at flights, and definitely would love to visit. We're a bit far, but we can manage it.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.